and acknowledge. So welcome, everybody. I am Marjorie Olmsted. I am the Associate Chair for Undergraduate Affairs in the Physics Department and the Undergraduate Faculty Advisor, which means I have office hours every week for students to come and talk with me about whatever they want. But if you need a waiver for your physics requirement, or you want to take some time off and you need permission to do things, I'm the person who has the power to give you permission. So please come and get to know me. I love having students come by in my office hours. I'd also at this point like to introduce other staff that we have here for you in Physics Student Services. I believe that Catherine, Margot, and Paula are all on the line. So if one of you wants to unmute and introduce yourselves. Margot?
Well, I'm the scary lady with the white hair. I don't know what I did on my settings, but anyway, I'm the undergrad advisor along with Paula. We both help, and Catherine is somewhere. Oh, Catherine is the an advisor also for grad students and also undergrads. And we're here to help you, so you can contact us anytime. And that's it. That's all I have to say.
Paula?
Yes. Hello, my name is Paula Newcomer, and I am one of the newest advisors. And just like Margot, if you have any questions, anything that I can help you with, you can send me an email, newcomer@UW, or I have a Zoom button. You can contact me through Zoom too, and I'm here to help you.
And Catherine?
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the physics department. I primarily help students who are interested in graduate studies. And if you are at all interested in graduate studies, I encourage you to meet with me early. The earlier, the better. And I can share some ideas and some suggestions that will make your journey a little bit more pleasant. Thank you again for joining our program. We appreciate seeing you. Hopefully in the fall, we'll be actually seeing you in person, and we're looking forward to that change. Thank you again. Take care.
Okay, so thank you. And I'll talk a little bit more about what you can get and learn from our student services staff. But what I'd like to do now is just give you a little bit of an overview of the department. And then actually one other person who's here to answer questions today is Allie. I guess, do you want to introduce yourself now, Allie, and then come back to you later?
Sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Allie. I'm a 2020 graduate of the physics department. I graduated in general from physics and philosophy at UW in 2020. I currently work as an acoustic engineer in Redmond, and I'm moving to Buffalo soon for a PhD program in philosophy. So I'm here to answer your questions and talk a little about my experience as an undergrad in physics department.
Great, thanks. Okay, so if I'm plugged in correctly. Whoops. So welcome. And my computer is not necessarily talking to me, but I want to start by saying hello and welcome and letting you know that we've all admitted you to the physics department, and we did that expecting that you have the capability to graduate with a Bachelor of Science in Physics. You may have some hiccups along the way, but we are here to help you get over the barriers that are between here and graduation. I also want to stress that we are delighted for each and every one of you to be a physics major, regardless of what other identities you hold in addition to that of physicist, whether they be related to gender, to class, to ethnicity, to ability to play soccer. Whatever it is that else is important in your life, we are glad that it is important in your life, and we're also glad that you've chosen to become a physicist. And finally, I want to say that every single one of you has access to campus resources that can help smooth your path through UW and also to your life beyond UW. And we strongly encourage you to take advantage of these resources. And so a large part of this particular talk is to let you know about what some of those resources are so you can get forward and get going towards your goals. So welcome. We're glad you decided to become a physics major. So it's your education. What I'd like you to think about as you put together your graduation plan is 10 years from now, what will you wish you had done or learned or experienced while you're in college at UW? And that is not just the courses you take, but your entire Husky experience. As you build your graduation plan, you should make sure that your plan gets you the education that you want and you need, both in and out of the classroom. Make sure you build in time to learn and explore. If something is interesting in your class, you want to make sure that you actually have time to go to the library or to go to office hours and think about it after class. I also strongly encourage you to join activities that will help you plug into the community. This can be a study group, can be participating in the Society of Physics Students, SPS. You can join an engineering team. You can work in someone's research lab. All of these are opportunities for you to get to know faculty and staff as well as each other. And that's important. That's an important part of your education. I think one thing that the whole pandemic has really drilled home in us is how important those interpersonal relationships are and how much we miss them when they're not around. And once you've built your plan, if you find that the education you want doesn't quite meet the physics requirements, then come talk to me. It's possible that we may be able to have potential substitutions or just different options that would be more appropriate for you to meet a particular requirement. So as I mentioned, learning outside the classroom is important. So don't just think about your graduation plan as the courses you'll be taking, but also more generally. Participating in study groups and SPS is important. You can email uwspsofficers@gmail.com to get involved. And also your outside the classroom knowledge, we require you do at least 100 hours of this for your capstone requirement. And you can do that by teaming up with a graduate student in Physics 498, directed reading and physics. You can do research either within the physics department or beyond. You can join some of the engineering teams, for example, the SpaceX or Human Powered Submarine, the Society for Advanced Rocket Propulsion, Husky Robotics, and so forth. There are physicists on all of those teams. You can take our pedagogy classes, Physics 40123, and then serve as a teaching assistant in the intro series, or get involved more generally in tutoring and outreach. So as a new major, you're required to have your graduation plan approved. So what is that process? First, think about your long-term goals, and then build a plan that's aimed at preparing you to meet those goals. Look at it, check to make sure you've got all the prerequisites for the courses you want to take before you actually want to take those courses. See when the courses are offered. Make sure you don't want to take a course that's only offered in winter, your last spring before you graduate, because then you'll be in trouble. And also check to make sure you don't have 4 problem sets due a week for 3 quarters in a row, because that can also be detrimental to your learning. After you've done those checks, revise your plan, put it into my plan, and then make an appointment with Paola, Margot, or myself to go over it. And as you update your plan in response to that, let us know once it's all entered and finalized on my plan, and we'll put it in our database that your plan is approved. And don't worry, this is not what we expect you to do necessarily from here all the way to graduation. So the last step here is to iterate before as needed between now and graduation through these steps. So every quarter you should sit down and review and make sure your graduation plan makes sense for you. And it's complicated. I'm not going to talk you through these, but just to remind you, There's a whole lot of prereqs for a whole lot of different requirements. And not all of our courses are offered every quarter. I put these slides in here mainly so that you'd have them as reference later. You can also find next year's course offerings on the web, and I'll show you how to find those things in a few minutes. As you put together your plan, think about your goals and keep them in mind while you're doing it. If you think you're going to want to get a job when you graduate, think about what is going to be on your resume that sets you apart from 200 other physics majors graduating that year and 600 or more engineering majors who are graduating that year. So do you have computer skills? Do you have experience building equipment? Do you have experience working on a team, writing communication about technical subjects? If you're thinking about graduate school, which faculty will know you well enough to write a useful letter of recommendation a year before you want to start graduate school? That usually means that you've been to office hours, that you've done research with them, that you've talked with them about your goals, and they know you well enough to write something that's not on your transcript. Think about acquiring the skills, the computing and electronic skills you're going to need for whatever job it is you're heading for or graduate school you'll be heading for. And think about gaining the experiences that you'll need to inform your choice. If you have no idea what you want to do, that's fine. Explore while you're here at the university. Find research opportunities, internship, joining teams, and so forth. Another thing to keep in mind is that you are building and maintaining a social support network. This is both people who will help you find jobs or learn about graduate school or write letters for you, but also your peers, the people that you're going to depend on in your study group and work with and be your network for the rest of your life. And also, as you're planning, think about if you need some time off, that's fine. A large fraction of our students actually do. I checked our recent graduates and almost a quarter of them had taken at least one quarter off, and many students, especially with COVID, are sort of taking a break or being ready to come back, and that's fine. We're here to talk with you about these questions. While you're in the major, another thing to keep in mind with your graduation plan is we do require that you take some course that meets a physics requirement every quarter unless you have prior dispensation. So just talk to me at the beginning of the quarter if it makes sense to take all courses in your double major, or if you're going abroad or something like that, it's fine, but you need to let us know about it. We also require that you maintain a cumulative GPA of at least 2.0 in your physics classes and a numerical grade of at least 2.0 in each required course used for the major. If not, you can get put on warning, probation, or dismissal status in the major. And that's typically, 5 to 10 students each quarter will be on warning status, and maybe 3 to 5 will move on to probation or dismissal status. And that's out of over 400. So it's rare, but it's something to keep in mind. So how do you be successful? Well, one thing is about classes. Take classes you actually want to take and read the book before class. Explore the topics after class. Learn more about this material that you've decided you're interested in. Go to class and engage, ask questions, think about what's happening while you're taking notes and interacting. Start your homework a long time before it's due. That gives you time to think about your homework, then meet with your study group, and then as a group, go to office hours with the questions of things that you haven't been able to figure out on your own. Connect with other students there who may have figured out other things, and then you can go home and finish your homework set, and it's still done before the due date. Get to know your professors, your teaching assistants, your peers by getting involved with SPS, with research and other campus activities. And finally, take care of yourself. Don't try to do too much physics after midnight if you have an 8:30 class. And if you're starting to feel like something's not going quite right, please reach out for help before you're overwhelmed and have a plan in place for what you're going to do if you do run up against some trouble. So how do you find things? The first stop when you're not sure can be our website, phys.washington.edu. And on the front page, you'll find most of the information about our undergraduate program here under programs and courses under the BS degree. If you click on BS degree, that's where at the bottom you'll find our list of planned courses. You'll find requirements, how to declare a major. You've already managed to go through that. If you have some transfer credit you need evaluated. And this under here, under advice for prospective majors, that's where the link to this particular talk will be. We've got all of those for both prospective and current majors are under that same link. Syllabi for courses are here under courses. Under research, you'll find out what research is going on in the building and people that you might want to talk to about research. If you go to the upper right-hand corner here where it says My Phys and you click, you will then get to a page which has just a listing of things that are behind a UW NetID wall, but you'll find lots of useful things here. You'll find how to get into the Department Honors Program and our checklist for going through if you're having academic difficulties. You'll find how to get on various email lists, how to sign up for our capstone courses that have applications. If you want to do research, independent study contract, if you want to do a CPT, you need physics support for CPT, all of that is here. There's something on how to get to know your professors, to write letters, and how to prepare for taking some time off for the university. But if you can't find it on the website, come talk to us in student services. Right now you can go there, that it's hidden under here, but under that orange thing, it says go here to student services. You'll find Margot, Paola, Catherine, and how to sign up for an office hour with me. Now things sometimes don't go right. If you find that your professor's doing something you just would rather the professor didn't do, talk to your professor first. Bring some other students with you if you feel more comfortable. If that doesn't work, come talk to Margot or Paola or myself. We can also bump it up to the department chair if somebody needs to go and talk to the professor about what's happening. And if all of those don't work, the ombud, the university ombud, is there to be a sounding board and mediator in any situation here on campus. Beyond that, if there's an emergency, by all means, call 911. There's Safe Campus, Community Standards and Student Conduct, Title IX, the Ombud, and Healthy Huskies. These are all university resources. Should you find that you're facing any issues, you think somebody's cheating, you're feeling bullied, you're feeling harassed, you're worried for your own safety, all of these resources are here for you. Academic difficulties are not unusual. As I mentioned, about a quarter students end up with at least one academic year quarter in which they didn't register or didn't finish classes. And I also checked transcripts of students who graduated in the last 4 years. 43% of them have at least one course in which they got a 0, an NS, an NC, or a hardship withdrawal. So all of those students graduated. So it's not uncommon. Running to a snag is not unusual. So come and get help to get out of that. Most common reasons for students to do poorly in a class is not that they were incapable of learning the physics, but rather that external things got in their way. We have a checklist for you can go through to think about what might have gone wrong, actions you can take, resources you can access. Go over that before you come in for advising. And we also have on MyPhys guidance for students who want to take a leave from UW, and that will help you get ready and ease your way back in when you return. You're not dropping out of college, you're taking a quarter off. The university also has a large number of health and wellness resources. The generic website to link to them all is at Husky Wellbeing, wellbeing.uw.edu. You'll find links there to health and wellness, to counseling, to disability resources for students, to Safe Campus, to the Husky Food Pantry, to emergency financial aid. All of those are available there. If you're thinking about what comes beyond, two really good resources are the UW Career Center, Career and Internship Center, careers.uw.edu. They have events daily, and they also have counselors who can talk to you about what to put on your cover letter and your resume and how to think about which way to go and so forth. And then nationally, the Society of Physics Students has a great page on what people do with a physics degree. So to finish up, some helpful hints: subscribe to our announcements list in your email that welcomed you to the major. You should see a link there to sign up for our announcements list. Please do that. Keep in touch with us in student services. Put together your grad plan and revisit it as your interests evolve. And once we're back on campus, join the Society of Physics Students, hang out and study in the H-bar, do things that will get you integrated with other people, forming a study group, taking advantage of these resources. And please come get to know us. It's your job to introduce yourself. There's 200 students graduating this year. There's 40 odd faculty. We can each get to know five students, easy. But which 5 students we each get to know, that's up to you. But you will need letters of rec for RUs and graduate school and things like that. And we love to get to know you. That's why we're here. So that's my prepared remarks. Stop here with to take questions, but first I guess I'll turn over to Allie for a little bit, and then you can direct questions to either of us. So thank you. And I don't see any questions in the chat, but feel free to put them there or to raise your hand, and we'll try and answer as many of your questions as possible.
Yeah, thank you, Marjorie. I believe most of you were there when I just introduced myself briefly, but let me just give you a bit of background. I was a transfer student to UW. So I went to 2 years of community college, then came to UW Physics, UW Seattle for physics. Took some time, basically it took me 3 years at UW to finish my physics degree and also finish my philosophy degree, which the first thing I want to mention, as Professor Olmsted said, that the whole idea of following your dreams, or if you're interested in something, definitely giving it a try. I highly recommend it. I never thought of going towards philosophy as as a path in my life, but after taking a couple of classes and I was willing to give it a try. I decided to give it a try. It totally changed everything about me. Definitely, if you have any interest for another minor, another major, or anything, definitely give it a try. It's definitely worth it. So a couple of things that I would like to just say as what I've experienced as a physics student at UW, or just a student at UW. First of all, physics department is a great department. We've got one of the largest, if not the largest department for undergrads in physics. It was the largest population of undergrads in physics in the whole country, which is interesting to its own level, but at the same time means we have so many resources that you guys can use, and I highly recommend using them. We have awesome staff and faculty members. Well, when I say I don't know if it's correct to say we, because I technically I'm not a part of it anymore, but yeah. Okay. Well, I really enjoyed it, and there's so many, the students were great. I found I made so many friends. I'm still in contact with a lot of the faculty members and the staff members. Really great groups, great connections. So definitely use those. It can be really helpful. Speaking of connections, in general, connections is something that I rely on up to this day, to the connections that I made throughout my academic life in UW. I found my job because some guy that took his master's in physics at UW was, interviewing me, and he knew one of the professors that I had, and he I decided to use that professor as a reference, and it just worked pretty well. And even though probably not a major effect on their decision, but it still affected it. So connections always help. Definitely, that's something that I highly recommend. The research, especially with the higher number of population and in the students, finding a research position can be hard, because I know every student has to take at least 3 credits or something, right? Yeah.
Mhm.
So it took me a while to be able to find a position for research in the lab. So that don't be worried if you try a couple of times and you don't find a faculty member to work with. Just be consistent with it. Keep sending those emails. That's something that I highly recommend. And if you have any chance to learn Python, that's something that is really, really helpful. I just regret the fact that I didn't spend more time learning it, because with almost every job that I've applied to, they're like, well, how's your Python experience? And I would have really appreciated if I had more, if I knew it more in depth. So that's something to always go for. It helps you to get a position in a lab or something, and also for future in any job, almost any job that you want to apply for. Let's see. That's kind of my spiel. I don't know if are there any questions. I have to leave at 4:40, so for the next 10 minutes, I'm willing to answer any questions that you guys have. Thank you for listening.
Okay, there's a question about what to do for Python experience. AMath 301 has been traditionally MATLAB, but going forward, they're going to be transitioning more and more to Python. I understand they're going to offer one section of each in the fall, and then Python in the winter and MATLAB in the spring, I believe, but you should check with the AMath department on that. Astronomy, if you've taken at least one 300 level astronomy class, you can take the Astro 300 class. And computer science now offers a version of CS 143 in Python instead of Java. I think it's CS 160 and 163. So those are current options that are out there for Python. Is there a physics computing class? Not right now. We are currently working on how best to integrate computing into the curriculum, whether we will have a separate class, whether we'll just require AMath 301 to everybody, or whether we will have a 1 credit add-on. That's something that the majors committee is discussing right now. So if you have strong opinions on that, please let me know. So now there's a question to Ali. Can you share a little bit of how did you get into acoustic engineering?
Definitely. Well, I mean, I was looking for a job for the year between my undergrad school, well, between being an undergrad and going to graduate school, because I took a gap year to just get some job experience. I applied to a bunch of jobs. Actually, I found that position in Indeed, which apparently I work for a ultrasound imaging equipment company that they basically made ultrasound imaging equipment designed for medical purposes, which if you didn't know, which I didn't know until I started working there, the Seattle area is there are just so many companies that are for ultrasound imaging that a lot of them, like Nintendo and Philips, apparently used to be for ultrasound imaging at some point, and then they just started doing other form of projects. So definitely, I'm really if I was gonna stay in that area, I would. It would have been really great, because there's just so many connections with all sorts of different companies. I've actually been approached already by 3 different companies if I'm looking for a job to work for them in this area, in Redmond area, which is really interesting. The experience is really there were a lot of things at first that I wasn't sure about, because with acoustic engineering, there were some experiences of electrical engineering and some programming things that I didn't know about. But my boss kind of assured me that it was like, yeah, no one is going to know everything that they start with, and they were actually looking for a physicist, which is really interesting, because physics the wave mechanics background of a physicist was more useful to them than an experience of an electrical engineer. As well as my boss is really interested in physicists in general because he really likes the whole mindsets and all the experience, all the skills that people learn in like with physics. I'm not sure how to exactly word it, but it's kind of like that reverse engineering, that physicist mindset. He's kind of like he was looking for that, and he really liked it. So that's something that I was really happy to be able to get, which was really nice.
Great, thanks. Are there other questions for Ali? So if you find this is for me, if you find a summer research opportunity without 3 credits of $4.99, then there's 2 ways you can go about it. We do need some credits to associate with your degree audit, but you can write a paper on it, and then you can either sign up for Physics 499 credits in the autumn, or you can just take an extra physics elective, and we can use those extra credits associated with yet one more physics or cognate physics class upper division elective. And so either of those. And the same thing goes for if you want to do a project, say you're doing material science engineering research, you can sign up for MSE 499 and write a paper to have that count, or you can take an extra elective and have a paper to have your out of department research count. And that's a question for Ali. What about philosophy and double major? And how do you deal with those 2 parts of your brain and keep them both happy at the same time?
Well, it was, so the reason that I went towards philosophy, when I started going to college at community college, I was going for somewhere around computer science, engineering. But then I would ask, I would be in classes, and questions would pop up, and I would ask my professor certain questions, go to office hours, and not always, but a lot of times I would get the same answer that, hey, this does not concern us here. This is for basically, as an engineer, this does not concern us here. And then that kind of caused me to, when I came to UW, be interested in the why question of going. That's what caused me to go towards physics. I really enjoyed it, but in some cases I would still face the same answer, be given the same answer for the questions that I asked, especially in like certain quantum mechanics classes, which I really enjoyed my quantum mechanics series at UW, but there's still, my professor was amazing, but still there were questions that were left unanswered. So that's kind of like the unanswered why questions was what turned me towards philosophy. And actual philosophy of science, philosophy of physics was something that I'm really interested to, which one thing that I want to point out, Professor Feinzeig, he is one of the most active philosophers of physics in the country that does research for quantum mechanics, and he does offer classes of philosophy of quantum mechanics. So if you go towards quantum mechanics and you're interested in that, definitely check his class out. It's really interesting. We kind of convinced him to start teaching it, and he's been teaching it since. So it's really nice. And the whole double major experience, technically one of them was a Bachelor of Arts, the other one was Bachelor of Science, so it's a double degree, not that different. It's easier than what I thought. It was much easier than what I thought because a lot of classes were shared, like a lot of credit. I could use a lot of credits in both of the degrees, and I really liked it because it was totally 2 different environments for itself. All the connections that I made, first of all, was amazing, but at the same time, the faculty members and the staff members and the students of each department were totally in like two different categories. Awesome people on both sides, but it was the type of conversations that I would have with each group was totally different, and like having that experience, that diversity in my life, and the connections that I had and the people that I interacted with, that was amazing. So that's the thing that I enjoyed the most about being a double major.
Great, thank you. So are there more questions? I know Ali has to leave in just a couple minutes. Is there anything else that came up? Okay, so in your last minute or two, you want to make a plug for SPS?
I mean, let's see, 2019, I was a vice president of Society of Physics student. And it's the family that I had in the physics department. Basically, we would spend so much time in the Society of Physics student lounge. Let's see, one of the best things we had for that was the lunchbox seminar, which on Monday is at noon. So Monday in the afternoon, there would be usually a guest speaker or some physicists from some other university or somewhere would come, would be the guest speaker and have a talk. But since their audience would be mostly faculty members and graduate students, we had this, we designed, like, this lunchbox seminar was designed to basically for that person to come in and have lunch. We would have basically have pizza and just like $1 per slice to just have it over there, and be able to just sit down with that speaker and have them explain what their research is, what their talk is about, in a little bit of a simpler language for undergrad audience. And that was really interesting. You would get so many different fields of research, basically, and to be able to just be introduced to. That was really nice.
Okay, yeah. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay. So thanks a lot. I know you have to go, but it's been wonderful seeing you again. And
yeah.
Great. Thank
Definitely.
you.
Yeah. Have a good day, everyone.
To follow up a little bit on SPS, there hasn't been as much activity this year as we've all been off in every which way. I believe there will be one more Zoom lunchbox in a week and a half, the last week of classes. But if you're interested, they're looking for people right now to be on the leadership team for next year. So by all means, contact UW-SPS officers at Gmail to say you're interested in being involved. We need community building officers. And if you want to have some control over what SPS does, by all means, please get involved. There are fortunately 2 students who've been active, who are 3 or 4 students actually, who are not graduating yet. And so they will form a core in the fall. We'll make sure that everybody gets invited to the first few activities so that you can be aware and have that as a way for community. So are there more questions or comments people would like to make? If you'd like to raise a question in the chat or raise your hand to speak. Okay, if there are no further questions, thank you all so much for coming. This will get posted on the department website. As I mentioned earlier, it may take a few days because we're working on the graduation video right now, but this will be on the department's YouTube channel within the next couple of weeks. So thank you all for coming, and please come by and see us. Margot and Paula and I and Catherine, we really miss seeing you in person. We look forward to meeting you all next fall for real, but we like talking over Zoom too. So thank you and bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.